You're closer to retirement than you think. And that should make you a little uncomfortable. Not because you're old, not because time is running out overnight, but because right now, today, you're either quietly locking in a comfortable future or silently setting yourself up for decades of financial stress. And the scary part? Most people don't even realize which path they're on. Think about this. If you're in your 40s, or even approaching them, you've likely been earning for 15 to 20 years. You've had raises, maybe switched jobs, maybe even doubled your income at some point. On paper, this should be your financial prime. So, why do so many people still feel behind? Why does retirement still feel vague, distant, almost unreal? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because your 40s aren't just another decade, they are the decade. The decisions you make here don't just impact your future. They define it. They determine whether your 60s feel like freedom or like a financial emergency you can't escape. And this isn't motivational talk. This is math. Let's break it down. If someone starts investing seriously in their 20s, they have something incredibly powerful on their side: time. Even small, consistent investments can grow massively thanks to compounding. But by the time you hit your 40s, that luxury is shrinking fast. You don't have 30 to 40 years for mistakes to average out. You don't have unlimited time for, "I'll start next year." Every delay now has a much heavier cost. In fact, multiple studies on retirement readiness show a consistent pattern. People who haven't built significant savings by their early 40s rarely catch up later, unless they make drastic changes. That's not pessimism, that's probability. And yet, most people in their 40s are not making drastic changes. They're doing something much more dangerous. They're maintaining their lifestyle, maintaining their spending habits, maintaining the illusion that things will somehow work out. Let me ask you something honestly. Have your expenses gone down over the years, or up? For most people, it's obvious. Bigger house, better car, more responsibilities. Maybe kids' education, maybe supporting parents. Lifestyle creep doesn't feel like a problem because it happens gradually. But it creates a silent trap. Because while your income might have increased, your financial flexibility often hasn't. And that's where the real problem begins. You see, your 40s are when two forces collide. On one side, your highest earning potential. On the other, your highest financial obligations. And if you're not extremely intentional, those obligations will consume everything you earn, leaving very little for the one thing that actually matters long-term: wealth building. This is why so many high earners still retire stressed. Not because they didn't make enough money, but because they never created a system where money stayed with them. Now here's the counterintuitive part. It's not just about how much you save, it's about when you realize what game you're actually playing. Because most people think they're playing an income game. Earn more, upgrade life, repeat. But the reality? By your 40s, the game has already shifted, whether you noticed or not. You're now in a time compression game. Every financial decision has amplified consequences. Every year matters more. Every missed opportunity compounds against you. And yet, culturally, this is the decade where people feel the most comfortable spending. Why? Because externally, it looks like success. Stable career, established lifestyle, social validation. But internally, there's often a growing gap between what people earn and what they actually keep. And that gap is everything, because retirement doesn't care about your salary. It only cares about your assets. It doesn't care about your lifestyle. It only cares about your cash flow when you stop working. So, here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. If your current lifestyle requires your full income to sustain it, you're not building freedom, you're building dependency. And the longer that continues into your 40s, the harder it becomes to reverse. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but people can always catch up later, right? Technically, yes. Realistically, that later requires sacrifices most people are not willing to make. We're talking about drastically increasing savings rates, delaying retirement, downsizing lifestyle, or taking on higher financial risk, none of which are easy, especially when you've spent years getting used to a certain way of living. So, what's really going on here? Why is this decade so decisive? And why do so many people get it wrong without even realizing it? Because it's not just about money, it's about behavior. It's about invisible systems. It's about psychological patterns that quietly shape your financial life without you noticing. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Here's what most people miss. Your financial life isn't controlled by big decisions. It's controlled by systems you stopped questioning years ago. Your salary comes in, it gets distributed automatically. Rent, bills, lifestyle, small upgrades that feel harmless. What's left, if anything, becomes your savings. That's backwards. Because in your 40s, leftover investing doesn't work anymore. You need intentional allocation. And here's where psychology quietly takes over. There's something called lifestyle anchoring. Once you get used to a certain standard of living, your brain treats it as normal. Cutting back doesn't feel like optimization. It feels like loss. So even when income increases, savings don't scale with it. That's why you'll find people earning 5 times more than they did in their 20s, but saving at the same rate, or worse. Now, layer in financial structure. At this stage of life, your money is usually spread across multiple directions. Housing, dependence, debt, maybe inconsistent investing. It's fragmented, and fragmented money doesn't compound efficiently. Compare that to someone with a clear system, a fixed aggressive investment rate, automated contributions, and controlled lifestyle expansion. Same income, completely different outcome. Then there's risk. In your 20s, you can afford mistakes. In your 40s, mistakes are expensive, not just financially, but in lost time. So people swing between two extremes. Either they take no risk and grow too slowly, or they take desperate risks trying to catch up. Both paths lead to the same place, uncertainty. The real leverage isn't extreme risk, it's consistency at scale, high savings rate, smart allocation, time, discipline, not exciting, but brutally effective. Zoom out for a second. Retirement isn't a single event, it's a financial condition. It's the moment your assets can carry your life without your effort. And your 40s, that's when that condition either becomes inevitable or nearly impossible. Because from here, the gap between comfortable and stressed widens fast. A few extra years of disciplined investing can create disproportionate results. A few years of delay can permanently lower your ceiling. That's the part most people don't want to hear. There is no magical recovery phase later where everything just works out. There's only momentum or lack of it. And here's the belief that needs to be challenged. I still have time. Maybe you do, but not in the way you think. You don't have time to be passive. You don't have time to be unintentional. You don't have time to let your lifestyle grow faster than your investments, because the game has already started whether you're paying attention or not. So the real question isn't, will I retire? It's this: will your future be funded by assets or supported by hope? Because one of those is a strategy, and the other is a gamble.